Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one here, and today we're going to be talking about lightweights and tanks when it comes to substance use. And if you don't know what that means, being a lightweight would be considered when you have a higher susceptibility than the average person when it comes to consuming your substances, and thus you don't need as much. While a tank would be someone who could handle a lot and needs more than the average person to receive the same desirable effects. I just want to talk about the mindset some drug users and just people in general have when it comes to being on either end of the spectrum. The general consensus. The fact of the matter is, these two types emerge due to our social norms. Usually, it's going to be more apparent in party settings and when people are trying to celebrate, but there will normally be the idea of the more the merrier. I experience this very commonly with alcohol. As time goes on, it's just common to make sure the drinks are flowing. And also as the time goes on, it's where the boisterous behavior starts to emerge. People way ahead on their 6th or 7th drink can end up being somewhat egocentric. Now, this is going to depend on other factors like the person, the environment, what substance it is, and more. But on the other hand, we got little Jimmy or something. He's only like on his 3rd drink, and he's feeling nauseous as a bastard. Now everyone's laughing, or at the very least they're amused, that he's hanging on the toilet seat, or over the balcony or whatever. He gets labeled as not being able to handle his drugs very well, and that he's a lightweight. Now I kinda oversimplify it here, but this is the general perception. I just want to break down a little and explain how it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to be acting in this way. It's a contradiction. So let's break down the specifics of what is actually going on here. I've been on both ends of this spectrum at some point in my life, but it really depends on the people you're with. But in my experience, and just logically thinking about it, I'd much more rather be a lightweight. Yeah, it's gonna kinda suck when you get peer pressure to drink more or just do more drugs. It can suck just not keeping up with the rest of the group, but you really have to consider what you're doing and what you're really looking to get out of it. Are you taking these substances to feel a certain way? Or are you taking these substances also for the sake of just taking these substances? In other words, are you downing beer because downing beer is fun? Or are you downing it because you like the way it makes you feel? And not to knock down the whole activity itself, but there comes a point where users are more so getting their enjoyment out of the ROA, or for some, just taking a lot of a substance in general. Some people are cool with this though, and even live for it. But I have to ask, do you really want to be in such a position? For one, you have to think about tolerance. Why would you want a high tolerance at all? Maybe to show you can down a shit ton of drugs or whatever, but is that really worth it? I'd much rather be a lightweight, have a low tolerance, and not need to take a lot to feel satisfied. This way I'm saving more of my supply, I'll move through it much slower, and I won't need to spend as much. While on the other end, you're going through your supply much faster and spending more. The same goes with things like psychedelics and other hallucinogens as well. Some people will knock others because they report their experience to be crazy and overwhelming when it's only like a tab or something. This too I think is contradictory. This shows that people focus more so on how much of a substance was taken, and then they follow this and try to base the other person's experience off the dose, rather than what that person actually experienced. Dose alone doesn't tell the full story. I've been in many group conversations where it can come about being who took the most drugs. To me, this is basically like a penis measuring contest, but oftentimes people will overlook quality of experience, which at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Just like with most things in life, it's quality over quantity. A good example of this will be taking a tab of acid at the crib versus taking a tab of acid at a festival. It's more likely the festival is going to be more eventful and just richer as an experience. Not necessarily, but the difference alone shows how drastic of a difference an experience can be. The other thing I want to point out though is that we're all different physically and mentally. We're all built differently and can handle certain amounts better than others. Some people with history of alcoholism in the family may just be more prone to excessive alcohol use. Or I like to think that your degree of awareness also plays a role in your quality of experience. Some things can just slip by some people, while others with the right awareness can better appreciate certain qualities of a substance. Our good example would be those very susceptible to DXM, making something like 200 milligrams feel like a fourth plateau experience. So, are we really going to knock people, call them lightweights, say they can't handle drugs just because they were born a certain way? But at the end of the day, this video was really focused on the contradictory perception that taking a lot of drugs makes you a badass or whatever. It's just something I've seen commonly among many types of people. This perception can actually turn people away from chasing the feeling of the substance and make them focus on the act of just doing the substance. And also, leave the lightweights alone, man. I've seen too many times where someone gets pressured into doing too much and they end up regretting it. Let people gauge what is right for them. You can't really know how someone else is feeling other than that person themselves. But we're going to leave it there for today. If you did like this topic and want to see me do more like this, let me know below and I'll get on that. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, share it if you can, and follow the socials. It's been Someone That's Known, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.